Afternoon from Tunbridge Wells, in fact Royal Tunbridge Wells in the county of Kent, which is the Garden County of England. I'm here today at the Nevill Ground, which is situated in Tunbridge Wells itself, for a particular reason, because in the past couple of weeks a film has been released, 83, an Indian film based on the 1983 India World Cup win, where they defeated the West Indies by 43 runs in the final in Lords. Now, I am at this lesser known ground, the Nevill Ground here in Tunbridge Wells, because a significant match took place that day. Now, the BBC were on strike that day, so there has been no televised recording of this match, but this was a match which took place between India and Zimbabwe. India needing to win the game to stay in the tournament, otherwise they would have been knocked out and on the next flight home. Now, they were in this particular match against the Zimbabweans, who at that time were not a test playing nation. Now, the incidents that occurred during that game is that India were 17 for 5 at one stage, and Kapil Dev walked in and scored 175 runs, had a 9th wicket partnership with Syed Kamani, which was I think 126 runs, which I think is still the highest 9th wicket partnership. They went on to beat Zimbabwe, went on to beat England in the semi-final and West Indies in the final. A West Indies team that contained the likes of Greenidge, Haynes, Richards, Clive Lloyd, Fowd Backus, Larry Gomes, Jeff Dujon, Holding, Garner, Roberts, and Malcolm Marshall, probably the best of that lot. A team that studied with greats, so India went on to defeat them in the final. In fact, I know probably all the West Indian players' names. I probably don't know all the Indian players' names. That was a side that they defeated at the time. The Nevill Ground here itself is quite a small ground. It comprises just one stand and a pavilion area that you can see. And the Nevill Ground itself is not used for international games. The only men's international that was played was that game between India and Zimbabwe. And I'm here to look around at this ground because recently I saw that film 83. I've met a number of the 1983 players themselves. So I've met Kapil Dev a few times, I've met Mahindra Amarnath, I've met Madan Lal, I've met Sandeep Patil, I've met a number of them during the course of my visits to matches and visiting cricket stadiums. But here at the Nevill Ground today itself, this is the first time that I'm coming here, that I've been here, just to have a look around, particularly because of that 175 that was encapsulated quite well in the film 83 itself. Just here at the pavilion area where I'm standing, and the actual area itself is locked, so I can't go in, but it just shows you in comparison to the likes of the Lords and the Oval and some of the bigger grounds, and even around the world, whichever test playing nation that we think of, the grounds and pavilions themselves are quite big, and the stands quite well maintained, and they cater for large crowds. But the Nevill Ground here itself probably only allows, I think, a couple of hundred spectators. It's quite a small ground itself, but it's quite a quaint ground, and I do find that some of the smaller grounds themselves are the grounds that are worth coming to if you want to see history and you want to see how cricket was played. You know, not the types of matches and grounds that we get nowadays, but more towards the 1920s and 30s and 40s. The Nevill Ground itself gives you that kind of atmosphere, because it's got grass banks on the side, it's got the pavilion area here, so the spectator seating itself doesn't cover a large amount of ground, but it gives you that appearance that this caters for local matches, some of the matches where you get to see local talent. They might not make the county scene, they might not make the test scene, they might not make the T20 cricket that people are so familiar with nowadays, but this is a local cricket ground, and it's quite fascinating to actually think that this was used in a World Cup. You know, could you imagine a World Cup taking place nowadays in such a ground? I don't think that would happen, but you know, it just shows you how cricket has moved on, it's progressed, and it's interesting just to be here and see this after that film. So we have the pitch area here. It's been cordoned off because it is off season. Cricket is a summer game, and we are in the grips of winter at the moment. So just trying to get a panoramic view of the ground itself. Now this match wasn't covered by the BBC because they were on strike, probably whinging about pay and other conditions, but it wasn't covered by the BBC, so this match was never recorded. There's some photos of this match, and it's quite soggy here. It's quite wet, so I'm just trying to find some place where I can walk without getting my shoes too wet. But I think the damage is done. I think it is waterlogged. In fact, if anybody tried to play on this pitch, I don't think there'll be any bouncers bowled, because wherever the ball lands, it will stop there. But yeah, just looking around this ground, it's quite a small ground, in fact, as well. It's not like some of the bigger grounds, but the pitch area itself, the actual ground looks quite flat. It must have been a fantastic pitch to play on that day, you know. And in the film 83 itself, you see a lot of people sitting down on the floor, on the banks, in fact, on the grass banks, and I can actually see some just over there, which I'll try and get to. Just on one of the grass banks that they've got here, and it is raining a bit. This was a place where, when the film was made, 83, there's a lot of fans sitting on the bank, on the grass bank, and shouting to the Indian players, "You've got to win this game, you've got to win something." And this is where they were sitting, in fact, on the grass banks. This was where from one of the bowling ends, and the pavilions on that side over there that you can see. They've also got cricket nets here as well, so the club has quite good facilities. So it's sad in a way that it's not used for internationals, because it doesn't have the capacity, but it's used for local cricket games and cricket matches. So it's good that it's been put to use, and it is quite a significant ground in the history of Indian cricket, because it was that game actually that led to the victory, and then progressed India a bit further into the stages, and they beat England in the semi-final, and they beat West Indies in the final, like I said earlier. But this ground itself, I think is quite nice. You know, I've been to the big grounds in England, Lords, the Oval, Edgbaston, Headingley, Trent Bridge, but it's some of the smaller ones that I think are actually worth coming to, because you get access to them, you get entry into these kind of grounds that you don't at the bigger ones. I mean, you can never ever do this at Lord's Cricket Ground the way that I'm walking around here. There's not hope on earth that they would let you walk around and get this close to the ground area, to the pitch area, access to the stands, the pavilion. Just want to see if the pavilion's open actually. If that's open, that would be a bit of a bonus, because that probably is locked. So I can imagine that the pavilion area is locked. There's people here brought their dogs along for a bit of a walk. So this is a sports area. Please keep your dog on a lead at all times. So yeah, there's a dog over there just having a wander. So yeah, it's a pity actually that that it's raining today, because that pitch area that you can see over there, I'd like to have walked on there, so that just I can say that I've stepped out onto the pitch.